Video, I will briefly introduce you to the wisdom literature in the Old Testament. The biblical wisdom literature ponders the questions in various ways. What is good life? At the beginning of the class, you wrote an essay on putting the you in choosing life. In the book of Deuteronomy, Moses says to his people, I have set before you life and death. Choose life, so that you and your descendants may live. Choose life. This phrase is as powerful as any words in the Pentateuch and the wisdom literature as well, because biblical wisdom, is not secular but religious. Let me read a couple of Hebrew texts. Elat Adonai, Reshit, Dat Hokmah, Umusar, Ebilim, Baju. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 1:7. Reshit Hokmah Elat Adonai. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Psalm 111 verse 10. Irat Adonai Hi Hokmah Be'sur Merar Binah. The fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. Job 28:28. So, what does the expression the fear of the Lord mean? Well, in the Pentateuch, especially in the Elohistic tradition, the expression is often mentioned in terms of obedience to God. On the basis of Proverbs, Psalms, and Job, the expression of the fear of the Lord is to be taken in the sense of beginning. So the Hebrew word Reshit means beginning. It's not of principal part or best part, but it is beginning. So the sentence means that the fear of the Lord leads to wisdom. It enables a man to acquire wisdom, or it trains us for wisdom. The most wise person in ancient Israel is Solomon. Tradition tells us that Solomon's wisdom was granted by God, like David with the Psalms and Moses with the Torah. Solomon is identified with wisdom. He is known as the author for at least for two biblical wisdom books, the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes. Although most interpreters think it's unlikely that Solomon wrote much, his name gives significance and authority. As the famous story of Solomon's judgment between two women, wisdom requires discernment. So wisdom is a gift from God. The Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Until the 1970s, wisdom literature had been marginalized in OT research. This is due to two considerations. First, the initial three wisdom texts, Proverbs, Job, and Ecclesiastes, do not focus either on the acts of God in history or on other typical features of theology, such as covenant, the election of Israel, the Jerusalem temple, prophetic judgment and salvation, and eschatology. Two books, Job and Ecclesiastes, are even opposed to the traditional doctrine of retribution and early Jewish belief in the justice of God. Because these facts, some have argued that wisdom is secular and has no interest in theology. But the wisdom texts indicate that their theological core is the theme of creation. In his book Wisdom in Israel, the Old Testament theologian Gerhard von Rad pointed to the importance of creation in wisdom theology, especially Job chapter 8 through 41. It means that humans are to learn to trust the creation, its orders, and the Creator who established them and through them offers life. Klaus Westermann's view of creation dictates his understanding of wisdom. The theological position of wisdom is thus to be determined from the perspective of creation. But Zimmerli also asked the question, how does wisdom fit into Old Testament theology? His solution was found in Genesis 1:28. The command to be fruitful and to have dominion is the divine authorization for the wisdom. Thus, the position of wisdom in Old Testament theology is justified from the Torah. He states that wisdom theology is a creation theology. R.E. Murphy argues that wisdom and creation are mirror images of each other. For some scholars, the basic goal of wisdom is to live by the author of the world and guaranteed by the Lord and in the circumstances of everyday life. The personification of wisdom. The figure of Lady Wisdom appears in Job 28, Proverbs 1, 8, 9, Baruch 3 and 8, Sirach 24, Wisdom, Wisdom of Solomon 7, chapters 7 and 9. Personification is no stranger to the Hebrew Bible. For example, justice leads Israel out of Babylon. But the personification of wisdom simply unique in the Bible. In Proverbs chapter 1, Lady Wisdom is portrayed in the style of an Old Testament prophet, threatening her audience with the divine judgment. Lady Wisdom is the Torah, an identification prepared for by the post-exilic vision of the Torah, Psalms 19 and 119. Wisdom and foolishness are personified as women in the beginning of Proverbs and function as pedagogical tools for teaching children these abstract ideas through the concrete characters. Woman wisdom has a life beyond the Proverbs, across texts and testaments. She is found in Jewish apocryphal books and is even seen as the embodiment of Torah. In early Christianity, she is picked up in the books of John, Corinthians, and Colossians. The wise wife in Proverbs 31 is remarkably like woman wisdom at the beginning of Proverbs. She is depicted as powerful and praised by her family. I love the image of wisdom as women. Wisdom shouting in the street, she raises her voice. The poem in Proverbs 31 is traditionally recited by Jewish men to their wives on Sabbath evening before the Kiddush. It's also recited at funerals of women and on Mother's Day. So some scholars believe that the personification of wisdom in the book of Proverbs actually came from the Egyptian tradition. As you can see the picture, it is the Egyptian goddess Me'at. Uh, she wears the feather, which is a symbol of truth. So the concept of Me'at can be translated to justice or truth or order. It is the divine order in the world into which a human being is to be integrated by his conduct. Success in this process of integration means prosperity. Failure means chaos. The description of wisdom in the book of Proverbs, especially chapters 1 through 9, reflects some of the attributes of Me'at, but it's not to be overemphasized. For one thing, Me'at is deified as a goddess in Egypt. The purpose of Proverbs is to teach wisdom. Proverbs 1 through 9 contains the instruction of a father to his son. The setting is common in ancient Near Eastern literature. The father wants his children to choose the wise path, which is life. So he commands the teachings of parents and elders. Hear, my child, your father's instruction, and do not reject your mother's teaching. Whereas the Proverbs 1 through 9 contains long poetic instructions by a parent, Proverbs 10 through 22 consists of two-line proverbs, one after another. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The book of Ecclesiastes. The teacher responds that everything is pointless. Vanity, vanity, vanity. He comes to that conclusion by discernment. Ecclesiastes sees that humans keep chasing after wind. They work tirelessly to try to secure their happiness. But what teacher discovers is that none of it is certain. Bad and unexpected things happen, and death comes for everyone. Because time and chance happen to everyone, it's better to eat, drink, enjoy life with those whom you love, and do your work with all your might. The book of Job addresses the big questions. Why do innocents suffer? What is God's role in human suffering? Is there divine justice? These were questions not only to the ancient Israelites, but to us today. For that reason, the book of Job has fascinated people for centuries. To these questions, here is the friend's answer. Suffering comes about some things as a punishment for sins, sometimes as warning against committing sin in the future. But Job's answer is this: no earthly reason at all, but for some divine reason. Thank you.